This man named Larry Sanders was recently convicted of murder. He reportedly murdered his friend because he believed that his friend was summoning Bigfoot to eat him. That's actually the story.
As one does.
Yeah. At the time, they were noodling, and this is a term I am newly introduced to, but that means fishing with
Weren't you raised
with
a
your hands.
redneck?
No. So like you're fishing like in the water with your hands. Yeah. So that's what they were doing together in Oklahoma, and he believed that his friend was summoning Bigfoot and was going to feed him to Bigfoot. And you guys, as Bigfoot respecters, do you
That's
think,
a good way to put it.
would you say that Bigfoot eats people, or what is his diet? What does his diet consist of?
So there's,
because I don't really know all the facts. Like I'm not educated on this.
If you could just summon Bigfoot,
like, and also like,
happen?
What are the ways that you summon him?
So there's this. We were talking about rabbit holes earlier. This is a real rabbit hole, believe it or not. This whole story. But no, so people say that Bigfoot will take their livestock off their farm and for eating purposes. And you know, there's
not just as pets.
No, not just as pets. I've heard stories of Bigfoot doing things to animals that we will not repeat on this show. It's kind of crazy. But you know, there's a real case to be made that people make that some of these missing people cases are Bigfoot related. And so in the one article that I was reading about that whole thing, they said it was Sasquatch-like. So I don't know what Sasquatch-like means.
Right.
Well, it's 12 feet, apparently.
Yeah. So this says that Larry Sanders strangled his friend Jimmy Knighton to death in July 2022 when they were out fishing. And he claimed during his testimony that while they were out fishing, he saw 3 Sasquatch-looking figures by the river. Witnesses testified that Larry Sanders had said he believed Knighton was trying to kill him and send his body down the river as a sacrifice to Bigfoot. And the forensic psychiatrist testified that Larry Sanders was suffering from methamphetamine-induced psychosis and was under the belief he was defending himself.
Yeah.
So he didn't plead insanity, or...
I was surprised by that, actually. I thought that's the layup.
Like a clear case.
Yeah.
I mean, can you claim insanity when you're drug-induced? I don't know if that's like drug-induced psychosis isn't going to get you like a lighter sentence.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
look,
I mean,
I never saw Bigfoot when I was a mess. I saw some shit, but I was always like very aware that what I was looking at wasn't real because I'd been up for 3 or 4 days at a time, and you know, but I wasn't around anyone. Maybe if I was around someone, I'd have been like, oh, dude, you're making these shapes in the room appear, and then like go through like some type of psychotic break. I don't know, but this is a very believable story to me.
I want to know what it was like in those moments. I mean, they're literally noodling. I mean, I mean,
like literally a fight in the water.
Yeah, like how does this? What was said? I mean, you're in the middle of sticking your arm into a hole and wiggling it like a fish, so that a bigger fish, a giant fish, bites down on your arm and you pull it out of the water. This is the process that you're in, and somehow you go from that to my friend is summoning Bigfoot to come and sacrifice me down the river for these creatures.
And he's got to have some belief in Bigfoot somewhere. Yeah, so if he's conjuring this in his head, and maybe there's the option he wasn't. Maybe it's all happened. He was on meth, and then he saw it for real, and then freaked out. Who knows?
Maybe the lesson here is like never noodle on meth.
Yeah. I mean, it's like either noodling or meth, not the two together.
Like, look, someone died. It's sad. I understand. Like, pay reverence to that. But the story is so absurd. Like, I cannot help but laugh.
I would be like, my stomach would sink if it comes out in court. He's like, well, I was listening to the Confessionals podcast, and I was like, no!
Right, like that would be your downfall.
I'm like, no!
Well, do you think that this story might be a story of like maybe we don't know from his testimony, but like, is this a story of what can happen if you actually go down the rabbit hole which you visit, but you shouldn't stay there?
Just don't
Possible.
go down the rabbit hole on meth. That's what I think the best thing you can do.
Do you think like there's conspiracy-induced psychosis?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So here's the other thing. If this dude was a political junkie, he would think that Bill Gates was being summoned to kill him, and the same thing would have happened.
No, Bill, you're not buying my farmland.
Yeah, exactly. That's what would have happened. Like, it's just pick your fear, and you just drop it in there. And an environment plays a huge role in that. So where he lives, it would be very different than a person who lives in the city, has been on psychosis, hears a knock at the door, and just unloads a mag through the wall because they're scared that, you know, the ATF is there to break down their door, or the feds are there to break down their door. Drugs are bad, okay? Like,
Yeah.
They just are.
Well, like, I think this came up the last time you were on the show. You making the content you make, you attract a certain audience. Like, I'm sure it's a minority of the people who listen to the Confessionals podcast, but like a niche group that is deep in that conspiracy rabbit hole.
We definitely get emails from people who will say their experience, but they'll preface it with, I was on drugs, you know? And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I can't really bring you on to talk about it because everybody's going to say it's an invalid experience.
It's like when people talk about the benefits of psilocybin or experiences they've had on ecstasy or on acid, which do actually unlock different parts of your brain, but it's very hard for somebody else to relate to that because they're not going through that, and no podcast in their right mind is like, yes, you should go do this. Actually, they probably do that, but like, you know, they advocate that, you know, this is not something you can do legally, but this is what happened to me. This is what these were the insights that I gained by doing that. But it's very hard to talk about it in the same way.
Yeah.
I think it's really sinister when people kind of promote the use of psychedelics or other drugs in order to access another realm or interact with creatures.
Rogan is like, excuse me, I'm here to talk about DMT with you.
Right. Like, it's weird how usually the people who've used DMT, they want other people to do it. They want to encourage other people to do it.
I was just watching a clip from Rogan's show, and they were talking about this stuff, and I was sitting there thinking, should I try DMT just one time just to see what the big fuss is about? But I was like, I think that's a bad move.
Depends on if you have fragile brain chemistry or not.
I think I do.
My experiences with those, like, I was never like a psychedelics guy ever, but I did try them, and all my experiences were bad. And those were in fairly controlled environments where I was not an idiot and just did it randomly, but was just young and stupid, and not regret it, but definitely like 1 out of 10 wouldn't do again. Right?
So like I think that there is something to be said about the whole drug-induced experience, in the sense that like I think that when people do these things, they might be having some kind of access to some kind of other realm, in the sense of spiritual experiences. And I don't know, I've never done meth. I don't know what the experience feels like, but if that guy's out there in the water and he's on meth, like, and something like that happens, I mean, maybe it's not Bigfoot, but maybe he is coming across some kind of entity that is telling him to do something.
There's a $20 one there?
Yeah, Rhaegar Targaryen said Larry Sanders was also a senator who was revealed to be a member of Hydra when Cap exposed that they were in S.H.I.E.L.D. So this definitely checks out. He tried to take Iron Man's armor too. Bad dude.
Bad dude. Bad guy. And to your point, like, a thing is like, look, when you're out there in the woods and shapes will play tricks on you, when you've been up for 3-4 days at a time, things are moving.
Yeah.
Like, that's hard enough in like a set environment, like an apartment, where you aren't going to have sudden movements or sounds, and everything is very regulated and close to your daily experience. But if you're outside, even just time of day change as the sun sets will cause things in your eyes and in your purview to look different.
We got another $20 from AJR. Well, you done and said it. What's the one, Brett?
I don't know what he means.
I don't know what that means.
What do you mean?
We would like to answer your question.
I don't know what you mean by what's the one.
Send another $20 super chat with what you mean clarification.
Yeah. We'll get to it.
Unless it's I don't know exactly what you mean, but I'll answer your question if you can clarify.
Yeah.
But like those the worst thing you can do is to go into uncontrolled environments awake for days at a time. Bad things happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go back to super chats.
Unless they're talking about the drugs. Like I tried acid and I tried MDMA and I tried mushrooms, and all of those experiences were less than optimal for me.
Less than optimal.
I was younger and they weren't good, but just don't do it. I'm not advocating that anyone do this. If anything, take from me to say like you have to understand like how your own body works and know like you should operate with a healthy sense of skepticism and fear with those things. Like, I don't want to go out into an environment and find myself, freaking out because I don't know, I can't control what's going on around me. You ever seen the memes that people talk about when you take too many edibles and they're like, there's nothing you can do about it now. You can't get it out of your system fast enough. Buckle up and understand that the next 8 hours of your life are going to be shit. That happens because, delayed reaction. Just don't do it. Live a healthy life. In fact, go keto, go veg. I don't know. I don't do any of those. But just live a healthy life and you'll be much happier.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.